Hey babe, you want to hear this? You want to hear this joke that I got for you? What is John Mayer's favorite place to go on vacation? There's nobody. There's nobody there. It's just me. Um. What's up, guys? It's the PopRocker here. Deesh has been so kind as to bring me in to help him out reviewing John Mayer's Sob Rock, his latest album. I think we all know why he brought me in to help him out with this one. It's the hair. I'm the only one who understands how luscious John Mayer's hair is, and we both play guitar. It's that too. It's probably those.
Okay, you're good to go.
No, but honestly, I can say that white people all grow up knowing who John Mayer is. It's basically taught in schools for us, which I wish was a joke, but John Mayer was honestly a focus of study material for me in multiple classes growing up. But then again, I also went to a Montessori school and not really the best one, so other study material I had was learning history from Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire lyrics, learning world geography from watching episodes of Man vs. Wild.
One thing you can do if you're stuck out here with no water source at all is actually drink the fluid from a fresh elephant dung. Pretty disgusting, but it could save your life.
And learning mental psychology from watching Drop Dead Fred. So, to a lot of you, John Mayer is the douchey white guy who plays specifically John Mayer songs. Like, you all know who he is, but you kind of don't. I kind of grew up with John Mayer a little bit differently. I know him as the guy who played the guitar solo in the Fall Out Boy cover of Beat It. So I had to do a little bit of research on his career, and I think it goes without saying that he hasn't been seen in the best light for the past 3 to 10 years. He's run through numerous public scandals, various attacks on his character, from things like misogynistic comments about specific women he's dated, misogynistic comments about all women in general, cultural appropriation, dropping racial slurs in interviews, dating 19-year-old Taylor Swift when he was 32. But, and that this might be a little controversial to say, I am a very big supporter of the idea of separating art from artist. You know, he's got, I guess, a bad reputation. Obviously, we can't look at who that John Mayer is. We really are only looking at John Mayer as a musician. It's possible to like what someone has created and not like who they are as a person. Both things can exist. So if we strip all that away, we strip all of John Mayer out and just look at John Mayer music, he's still kind of a douche. You know, he's released a number of albums. I don't know the exact number because I forgot to look up specific stats. I was too busy reading about the timeline of his personal life because it's very interesting. Like, if you want to see someone who just does not know how to fix themselves in the public eye, just look at John Mayer for the past, like I said, 10 or so years. He just can't shut up. He can't stop saying almost problematic things. Like, real close. Sometimes he goes over the line. But again, separating art from artists. We're just looking at Sob Rock here. This album, he said, is a little bit different from his past ones. It's meant to be inspired by a lot of the music he was listening to in the 80s, he says. It's very 80s inspired. And I was a little bit confused when I read that. It didn't really fit together because none of these songs sound like Take On Me. And I don't understand how you can possibly say that without having a song that sounds like Take On Me. fun fact, I actually wanted to make that joke about the song Africa. That's what I said first. But the first song on this album, Last Train Home, does kind of sound a lot like Africa. So I had to completely scrap that one. But yeah, getting into it, I don't really know what music he was listening to in the 80s, because this doesn't feel like a very 80s inspired album. I mean, there's little hints of it. Like I said, there's the first track, that kind of thing. There's a little bit of Toto, a little bit of Hall & Oates, but there isn't really that energy that you expect from an 80s album, an 80s inspired one. When someone says that, it's kind of a John Mayer album, really. It just falls a little flat in that aspect, in the 80s aspect, which I guess kind of makes sense because he was 4 when the 80s started, and so he probably wasn't doing any cocaine and wouldn't have been at any of the clubs where all this stuff was happening. But there was, you know, hair metal in the 80s. There was all of the fiery electro pop. Like, how did he manage to find only the smooth jazz in the 80s to inspire him? It's just a little mind-boggling. Yeah, John Mayer's kind of known for this slow, low energy style. Like, this album isn't really departing from the rest of what you know John Mayer for. It sticks to code. Like, the most exciting music he's made is No Such Thing, and even that is a really chillax song. Well, that and when he did the guitar solo for Fall Out Boy's cover of Beat It, that was pretty high energy. But yeah, this album never really goes above a 6, I'd say, and that's honestly maybe a little high. Like, the peaks of the album were at a 6. But it does its job. I mean, it kind of lulls you into this sense of just accepting where you're at. You know, if you're not going into this already wanting to listen to John Mayer, which I feel like I might be the only person who's ever going to be in that situation. By the time you get, I don't know, 7 or 8 tracks in, there's one song, it's got kind of this breakdown. I've got it written down. Till the Right One Comes, that's it. None of his songs are memorable. Till the Right One Comes has this sort of like hoedown breakdown thing that normally would be really stupid, but once you've listened to John Mayer album and you've gotten through it kind of hits hard. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, if you want to go to that breakdown, it's in the middle of the song. You kind of feel, I mean, you got to listen to the whole album, I guess, to get that. But yeah, I mean, once you get in the John Mayer music headspace, you really feel it. You really vibe with it. And most people, I would assume, are going into this album wanting that to begin with. They're gonna get it. Sob Rock delivers on that. Honestly, Sob Rock seems like a great name for the John Mayer genre. I don't know if it's a very specific thing. I'm sure there's some name for it. There's a name for everything now in music, but if we want to change it and rename it Sob Rock, it's perfect. I mean, it works. I mean, musically, the album, it gives you the stuff I've already talked about in John Mayer, but there's some more deep cuts kind of near the second half of the album that almost have like this like country western, like I don't want to say square dance feel. It's like if a square dance had a slow song. Like, there's a specific thing that I'm trying to think of. I just can't think of the word for it. It's that. It's got, you know, like the real slow twangy guitar, and it feels like the cowboys riding off in the distance. For some reason, some of this album has that vibe, and honestly, I didn't hate it. I was kind of into it. I mean, after a lot of, you know, like the typical John Mayer stuff, switching it up a little bit like that was cool. Or maybe that's the typical John Mayer stuff and I just haven't heard the second half of any of his albums since I was 14, because I haven't. But enough about the music, you know. Let's talk about the lyrics of the album, because I didn't really touch on that. John Mayer has this very specific style of lyric, right? I mean, not specific style isn't what I'm trying to say. He's writes very personal things that are very much about his life. They're borderline like calling people out. Like, he's one step away from just name dropping people. That's how personal and clearly about his own life his lyrics are. And somehow they're also extremely generic love songs and reflection songs, and just like this album's thinking about his life and how he's never met the one, even though I think he's been married a few times and had a bunch. I mean, we all go through that. I can't rag on that. Never mind. Forget I said any of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he writes very personal music that is also very generic and kind of stuff we all can relate to. And I don't know if that's like really clever and talented marketing and writing on his point, like he intentionally does that, or if he's just a really generic guy. You know, it could go either way.
That's what she said.
I'd say this album, if you want to narrow it down, if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, but you want to get a taste for it, go listen to the song Wild Blue. That's going to give you everything you need to know. Or go listen to a song on another John Mayer album. But specifically, if you want Sob Rock, check out Wild Blue. It's kind of big right now, I guess. I think you might have seen it in a TikTok video. And I say might because the videos that I saw, I don't know if it's like a viral trend or they're the only ones in existence, but there's like a thing where he plays the guitar and he's like, hey, pick up a guitar and play your own solo for Wild Blue. So yeah, maybe there's a reason that one's kind of taken off, why he picked it. It's because it's the one that encapsulates the whole album. It's exactly what you're gonna get. I'd also recommend going and listening to Last Train Home because it's probably the best one, and it's honestly kind of cool and it sounds like Africa. So yeah, I don't want to be too hard on him. I feel like I'm doing a lot of that. I have this problem when I review music and other things where I only like rag on it and say bad stuff even when I don't think it's that bad, because it's just easier for me to speak negatively about something than speak positively, because I don't know enough good things about things. Like, I sound kind of like an idiot when I try to talk good. I'm sorry, I don't need to get all personal for you all. This isn't a therapy session.
You know, you really need some help, but a regular psychiatrist couldn't even help you. You need to go to, like, Vienna or something. You know what I mean?
John Mayer, we're back to that. Like, John Mayer does what he does really well. There is a corner in the market that John Mayer exists in. There are people who look for this kind for Sob Rock. There's people who look for Sob Rock, and John Mayer is the best at it. Like, if you might not always be in the mood for it. I can understand that. You have to be in the mood for John Mayer or any of it. You really have to be in the mindset. But when you are, if you sit down and say, I want to listen to John Mayer, he's gonna deliver, and he's going to fill you with that dopamine and that excitement and everything that you want, because he's a talented songwriter. You saw me like catch those words in my mouth. He's a talented songwriter when it comes to Sob Rock. He's kind of generic otherwise. You heard what I said. I gotta stop. I'm trying to be nice about him. He's good. The album's good. If you want John Mayer, Sob Rock is a good album for you. Some people have even called it his masterpiece, but I only know that because I saw other people saying, you're wrong, it's not his masterpiece. And I wouldn't say that either. He's been around a while. I can't imagine this is the best thing he's done. It's not, actually. I can just clearly say it's not. But it's good. It's good. He gives you the Sob Rock you want. And he's, let's say it, an underrated guitar player. If he was just here for guitar, even though he'd be in an even smaller market, if he was just playing guitar, he'd be a world-class star. Like, you can't hate on him for that. Just because he's not the virtuoso that you're gonna go pull out on YouTube to prove that they're better, like, the dude can shred a little bit. I don't know if you know this, but he played the guitar solo for the Fall Out Boy cover of Beat It. Like, he can what's the guitar called? What's the weird thing? Slam the Bone or something? I don't know. People say weird stuff. John Mayer, Sob Rock, check it out. Don't. I'm not going to say you have to. We'll say that. I'm not going to tell you to go out and listen to Sob Rock right now. A lot of people aren't really saying that. This was, I think, kind of supposed to be like a resurgence, a grand return for John Mayer. I kind of get that feeling anyway. I don't know for sure, but it didn't really work, we'll be honest. Chances are you didn't know this album came out. It's also been out for 2 or 3 months, and it's just now getting reviewed here. So let's say that. It's gonna take 3 months for you to want to review it, but if you can get into the mindset of John Mayer, you're gonna love it. Nailed it. Perfect ending to that. Deesh, cut it off. We're done. Love you, Deesh. I'm gonna say it every time I drink water at you. Love you, Deesh. Love you, Deesh. Love you, Deesh. Love you, Deesh.